it's time to sit back and relax with your favorite drink. And listen. Well, they say that the moment the mirror does not recognize us anymore, the cards are no longer in our hands, and in effect, we have failed to see to the bottom line of our life story, and thus lost our identity. A concept explored in tonight's story. The person on the other side of the mirror offered to trade places with me by Corpse Child. Well, I'll admit it. I used to have a thing for always looking at myself in the mirror. It's not really a vanity thing, actually, more like the opposite. You see, I suffer from body dysmorphia, where you'd look at me and think, he's not bad looking, or even, he's kind of cute. I'd think I looked fugly as hell. The other thing with all that is that one moment I'll look in the mirror and think I look fine, but maybe 5 seconds later I start noticing things that I think make me look ugly. It's been this way for me since high school, and I don't expect it to get any better. I've developed anorexia because of it, and therapy has never really been much use to me. Now, I'm not asking for sympathy or help for this. Personally, I wouldn't have said anything about it at all if it didn't apply to why I'm writing this. After all, it's not exactly comfortable for me, a guy, to admit some shit like that. So, anyway, yeah, I'm almost always looking at myself in the mirror or some reflective surface. Again, it used to be a sort of method of self-assurance, though like I said, it never really helped. But ever since I saw it, my life has now changed in more horrific ways than I thought possible, and it's caused me to avoid mirrors entirely. What is it, you may ask? Well, good question. In fact, it's so good a question that it's why I have to write this. Maybe someone can shed a bit of light on exactly what the hell it is. I'll try to explain this the best way I can. I can't guarantee you'll understand it all. God knows I sure as hell don't. It was the night of my senior prom when I first saw it. I'd managed to actually land a date with Janet, a girl I'd been trying to ask out for most of that year, and that night I planned to pop that question to her during the slow dance part. That is, until I was grabbing punch from me and my girl when Eddie, Ditzy Eddie, decided to try and swing dance with his date right next to the punch bowl. He ended up sending the girl hurling straight into me, right as I was pouring Janet's drink, toppling the both of us over and causing punch to spill all over the both of us. Well, unfortunately, she landed right on top of me, and Janet didn't see me get knocked over by the girl. In other words, when she came over to the punch table, all she saw was a chick on top of me, all giggly and shit, like it was somehow funny to her, and that I'd just taken it. Janet immediately got pissed and decided to slosh another cupful in my face before storming out of the gymnasium. What was worse was that now everyone was staring at me, laughing their asses off. As quickly as I could, I made a break for the bathroom. Once inside, I propped the big trash can that they keep in the bathrooms against the door before looking into the mirror. I was coated in cherry punch and my hair was already getting sticky from it. It was also all over my brand new suit that I'd bought only a week ago, hoping to help make an impression to Janet. Fat chance of that. It was also drenched with red. It honestly looked like I'd just butchered somebody. Great job, Lenny, old pal, I thought bitterly, looking in the mirror. You lose the girl and you look shitter than ever. I grabbed one of the paper towels and began trying to clean myself up. Oh, yes, you do. At first I didn't really hear it, and I just kept wiping my face. It must have just been my inner self-loathing, I figured. Yeah, you really do look shit, Leonard. I'm surprised she even said yes in the first place. I looked up to the mirror to see my face smiling at me. Well, sort of. It was more like what I wished my face would look like. Strong, broad chin, as opposed to my pointy one that could cut through glass and solid ice with slick, well-combed hair and no glasses. In short, it, looked handsome. Perfect. Everything I wasn't. Hey, what the... Yep, I'm you. Well, actually, no. I'm what you aren't. I'm what you wish you could be. I stood still, slack-jawed. The reflection then smiled wider and said, I mean, just look at you. A failure. covered in punch and looking like a scarecrow that just got wasted. You couldn't possibly think you're going to pick up any dates the way you are. He then chuckled and said, unlike me. What the hell? What's going on here? I rubbed my eyes and looked at the mirror again. He was still there, my insulting reflection, still smiling almost deviously. So, just who the fuck are you? I snapped back at him. I told you. I'm what you wish you could be. I'm what you should be. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I'm just fine the way I am. Obviously, deep down, even I knew this was horseshit when I said it. Like I said, I've always had a problem with self-loathing. And of course, this thing wasn't stupid and immediately called my bluff. Yeah, that's a good one. You could be a comedian with lines like that, if you weren't such a fuck-up at everything. I mean, really, you honestly expect me to believe that you are just fine the way you are? For God's sake, just think about why you're even in here. I cocked my eyebrows in confusion. What's that supposed to mean? What are you even... I stopped, pinched the bridge of my nose and said, laughing, Actually, you know what? Forget I asked. I don't even know why I'm even arguing this. I mean, you're my reflection. What do you know? You're not real. Not real? It spat. Well, that's your first mistake. I am very real. As real as you are, perhaps, It grinned wide again. Even more so. What? How are you more real? I mean, you only exist in a mirror. How does this make you better than me? I mean, besides the fact that I'm far better looking than you, how about I don't try to bullshit myself into believing that things are just fine the way they are, when they clearly aren't? At least I can honestly say things like, things are great the way they are, and it not be an obvious lie. And I was stumped. I wasn't sure which felt worse, which sent me more into a tailspin. The fact that I was having hallucinations in the mirror, arguing with them, or the fact that, somewhere deep inside, I felt like it was right. Either way, this was starting to irritate me, and I wanted to end this debate. What's wrong? It chided condescendingly. Lost for words? No defense? Okay, look, aside from berating me to my face, is there an actual reason you showed up? What the hell do you want from me here? It let out a chuckle and said, I'm here because I'm actually a nice guy. I've come to offer you a way out. A way to be better. To be me. What do you mean? I watched him reach his hand out to me. Come with me and I'll show you. I stood still. Nothing about this felt right to me. I mean, besides the obvious concern of my reflection is talking to me, something about what he was actually saying just seemed, well, somehow off. What was he talking about? Offering me a way to be better. Better how? Who, maybe what, even is he really? Come on, what do you got to lose? Your dignity? He snickered. Oh, trust me, you've long since fucked that up. That's when I started losing my patience. Who was this asshole to kick me while I was already down? Up yours, I spat venomously. And he almost immediately dropped the shit-eating grin he'd plastered on his face. For a moment he looked agitated, pissed off, like he was about to leap through the mirror and try to get me or something. Suddenly his mouth parted again to that deranged grin from before, and he said, Well, suit yourself. I can wait. After that, he vanished, and my reflection was normal. A 5'1", lanky, shaggy-haired, 4-eyed loser with ghostly pale skin and pimples covering 3/4 of his face. For a solid 5 minutes, I stood in the mirror, trying to make sure what I was seeing was the real thing. Finally, I splashed cold water on my face before leaving the bathroom. But from there, I immediately made my way out of school and to my car. Driving home, I thought about what had just happened. Admittedly, I figured most of this was just me imagining shit because I was down. Sort of like how you imagine yourself being given an award, or how you'd imagine girls throwing themselves at you when you're feeling good or confident. Only, of course, this was the opposite, being mocked instead of praised. But there was still one thing that wasn't sitting well with me. What was it talking about? A chance to be like him. What did he mean by going with him? Go where? Into the mirror? What was he talking about when he said that he could wait? By the time I got home, I had no real conclusions other than I was just beating myself up over screwing things up at the dance. And being exhausted, I decided just to call it case closed with that. Oh, I'm just being too hard on myself. Just get some rest. Tomorrow, try to be more positive or something. So the next day, I decided to do just that. Decided to wear my favorite t-shirt and my leather jacket. I'd even decided I'd wear my shades instead of my glasses that day. Sure enough, it was actually kind of working. I actually felt good about myself. Well, in truth, I felt great. This made me want to check myself out in the mirror. At first, I was almost ecstatic. My confidence was through the roof. I looked like a badass. I thought I looked like the Terminator, albeit a very skinny, not in the least bit physically threatening one. Soon, though, it happened again. There he was, my bullying reflection in the mirror, complete with a shitty smirk stretched right across his face. "Wow, look at you, Lanny," he chided in a mocking voice. "You think you've got it, huh? You think you're a hot shit now because of some new threads." He chuckled and shook his head. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. "It's not real. He's not real. He's just in your head." "Wrong." My eyes snapped open again. Or like last time, his mouth was stretched into a deranged grin. "I'm not in your head. If I was, we wouldn't be having this conversation, would we? We wouldn't need to." My heart started slowly racing. If this wasn't in my head, then... "But," he said, cutting my thoughts off dead in their tracks, "that's why I'm here. I want to be in your head. I want to be you." I cocked my eyebrows at him. "What do you mean?" "I shouldn't be in here, Leonard. I'm what you should be. Think about it, you're always feeling it, aren't you? That sense you're not good enough. Hell, isn't that why you're always looking in the mirror?" This made my blood start to go cold. How do you... "Because I am that piece. Everyone has it. That piece of them that they lack. The reason they can't ever feel good about themselves. It's why you can't ever feel content with yourself or anything you do. Why you're such a screw-up with life." "Oh yeah? So what? You be my saving grace? You, my reflection. You'll make my life better." I actually laughed at this. God, even if I believed you, why would I want to let you in? You're a jerk. All you do is spew insults at me. His smile fell and he sighed. "Well, what can I say? I call it like I see it in you, my friend." He whistled condescendingly. "Phew, damn." My anxiety was quickly being replaced with frustration. I felt like I was less than 2 seconds from putting my fist through the frickin' mirror, straight into his smug-ass face. "You know what? Go to hell," I shouted before storming out of the bathroom, slamming the door behind me. "Hey, what's all that about?" my mum asked, peeking around the corner from the kitchen. I gave her the classic, "Nothing, Ma," line, before grabbing my book bag from my room and heading out for school. Well, despite what happened, I was determined to keep my good mood going. I wasn't going to let some asshole in the mirror ruin my day. On the drive to school, though, I started thinking about it again. What does he mean by becoming me? Nothing about that made any sense to me. I mean, for starters, how exactly would he become me? What did that even mean? That led to the other thing he kept saying about how he was what I should be. What the hell did that mean, too? I actually ended up with the onset of a migraine from trying to rack my head around this shit. So I shook it off when I got to school. Whatever happened, with my head or not, I told myself that it was nothing. I was going to have a good day, and I wasn't going to let anything or anyone take that from me. Well, like this morning, it actually seemed to work. For a while, I felt good about myself. I felt like I was a certified badass. At least until lunch, where, in front of everyone, including Janet, I was accidentally tripped by Victor Coleman, captain of the school's varsity football team. This caused me to faceplant straight into my lunch tray, covering my face with the ranch dressing I had on my salad. Unfortunately, this also caused my open milk carton to slosh out, splashing across the front of him. Looking at his face, now almost foaming at the mouth with rage, I took off quicker than I'd ever thought possible towards the bathrooms. I could hear him chasing after me at ramming speed, like a bull that was ready to run me through with its horns. To my utter relief, though, I managed to actually make it and slam the door right as Victor crashed into it. "Oh, come out here, you frickin' pussy," shouted Victor from the other side of the door. Pressed against the door, I could feel several loud bangs from the other side from him trying to ram through it. Finally, though, he seemed to give up and everything was quiet again. I spent the remainder of the lunch period hiding in the bathroom. "Well, look at you," I heard as I was cleaning myself up. I looked up and, you guessed it, there he was, complete with his snide-ass smirk. "How's it going, huh? Being a badass and all?" "Oh, fuck off," I growled. Oh, this was just what I needed, right? To be kicked while I'm already down. Well, you laughed at this. "Look, I told you. I just call shit the way I see it. Come on, you can't keep lying to yourself here. You know you can't face the world. Just look at yourself. I mean, really look." And for a second he disappeared, and I saw myself again. My true self. How much of a puny, ugly loser I looked like. I was horrified. No, this isn't me. Is it? I'm not this ugly, am I? I started shaking my head. This isn't real. He isn't real. None of this is real. It's all in your... Oh, how dense are you? I looked again to see he was back, staring at me in annoyance. Have you not heard a single damn word I've been telling you? If I was in your head, I wouldn't be here. What are you talking about? Beware. In here, he replied, pointing his finger downward. In the mirror. If I was in your head, you wouldn't be in this situation right now, hiding with your tail between your legs in the bathroom. Think about it. If I was inside your head, you wouldn't be a failure. You wouldn't go to sleep and wake up every day a loser. I was flawed. I wanted to tell him to cram all of this and his smug smirk straight up his ass. Moreover, I still wanted to believe that this was all just extreme self-loathing, that this person, this thing in the mirror, was just a figment of my imagination. But seeing myself then, the way I truly looked in the mirror, I couldn't find the strength to voice any kind of argument. He was right. I was still just a coward and a loser. I still couldn't get anything right with anything or anyone. I'd wanted so badly for him to be wrong, but I knew, deep down, that he wasn't. My eyes were starting to burn with tears. Here, he said, holding his hand out towards me again. Come with me. Trade places with me. Let me take over out there and I'll make everything better. I stood there, looking at his outstretched hand. I could feel my body shaking, both from excitement and anxiety. The muscles in my arm twitched, wanting to move forward toward the mirror. Come on, Lanny. Take my hand and everything will be all better. But what'll happen to me? Don't you worry about that. I've already taken care of that. You'll take my place in here while I take the driver's seat. Just know that I'll make everything better for you out there. How's that sound? Well, I won't lie. I don't know exactly what it is about how he said this, but I actually felt convinced. I know that you're probably thinking, why in the world would I fall for some shit like this? Don't I watch TV? Does this ever end well? And you know what? You're absolutely right about all of that. But I don't exactly expect you to really get it. It wasn't you that truly saw yourself for the open failure that you were. It was me, and I was sick of it. I was done going to sleep and waking up a failure every day, like he said. I was done with feeling self-conscious every time I looked in the mirror. I was done feeling bad about having to feel bad about saying that just because I'm a guy. I was done having to feel. I slowly reached up to the mirror where his hand was. I watched his smile widen the closer my hand came to his. As soon as it was only an inch from the mirror, I heard the bell ring, signaling the end of lunch. For only a brief moment I glimpsed the reflection's face, no longer looking like a perfect version of me, but now had a concave face with albino skin pulled taut over his skull, as well as 2 pitch-black craters that leaked some sort of bright purple ichor where his eyes had been, and several rows of crooked, jagged teeth. Before I'd been able to back out and run, though, I felt something cold and tight wrap around my wrist and forcefully jerk me towards the mirror. Everything seemed to go dark, but the only way I can really describe what happened next is that something seemed to pull me out of my body. Think of what it's like to have someone reach through your stomach and pull your insides out like they were pulling out the insides of a pumpkin. It was basically that, except I felt no pain. Instead, it was more just a sense of pressure, and then pop, and then I felt completely empty. The next thing I'm able to see is just a bright, white ball in the middle of a black, purgatorial expanse around me. It's far back in the distance, and I struggled to try and reach out for it. That was when I noticed that I couldn't see my arms. Then, even more horrifying, I looked down to see I didn't even have a body anymore. Instead, I was a ball of ashy white steam or mist. I wanted to scream harder than I've ever done before, but when I opened my mouth, I was unable to make any sort of sound at all. I tried to move towards the white circle again. It felt like all of Earth's gravity was bearing down on me, while at the same time feeling completely weightless. Eventually, I managed to scramble my way to it and looked into it. I could see the school bathroom with me, or at least my body, standing there, staring back at me with that familiar shit-eating smirk parting the left corner of its mouth. I tried again to scream, even harder this time, demanding he fix whatever he'd just done to me and give me my body back. But nothing sounded. He leaned in close, still smirking, and I heard him say, "Thanks for this. Don't worry, I'll make everything better. Have fun." He then chuckled before turning and leaving the bathroom. I was trying feebly to push my way back through the white circle, back into the outside world, to no purpose. I stopped when I felt myself being pulled back away from the hole. Looking back, I saw that, somehow, despite everything around me being dark and empty as it was, it seemed to actually get even darker the further back I went. Or to best describe it, it's like what you hear a black hole in space is like. A place where light is stretched out and ripped apart, dissolving into nothing. That's exactly what it felt like was happening to me too, when I was pulled into it. Despite what I said earlier about not feeling my soul getting ejected from my body when I was pulled into the mirror, this was the opposite. I felt it. Everything, every agonizing second, as I was pulled and stretched in every direction humanly possible, as well as some that weren't. I began to very slowly erode in the pit or void of advanced darkness. It almost didn't seem to end. What was worse was that I couldn't even lose consciousness through any of it. I was awake. I was lucid. I was forced to endure all of this without even being able to lose my mind. I don't know exactly when it all actually did end, time seeming not to exist where I was, but finally I was released from the void out into the open purgatory again. I saw there was another white glowing circle ahead of me. Like before, it took tremendous effort, but I managed to find my way to it. Looking out, I could see the face of a man, probably early, mid-20s, standing in a small, dirty motel bathroom. His eyes were sunken, his skin pale and sagging like it was a size too big for his bones. He was sullen, depressed and looked sick. I watched him splash water on his face before taking out a pill bottle and downing 5 of them. Looking closer, I saw that the label read Prozac. I instantly felt a wave of alarm rush through me. What the hell are you doing? It took me a moment to realize that my voice actually worked now. He looked up to me. Don't know how I must have appeared to him, but he seemed confused, like how I was in his position, and began touching his face. What the? I heard him say, shocked and bewildered. Who are you? I hesitated for a moment. Wasn't sure how to answer him. Like I said, I don't know what I actually looked like to him. From my end, I was still a shapeless apparition with dark holes for eyes. But I guess, given that he didn't immediately run screaming, that this wasn't what he saw. I must have appeared somewhat familiar to him. Realizing this, a strong sense of familiarity, déjà vu, if you will, like I'd been through this similar instance before, and the big question started coming to me. Was this what the, for lack of a better term, other me had experienced? Was this what it was like for him? Did he have to suffer the agony from the black hole that I did? I've come to offer you an out, a way to be better, to be me. And that's when it all finally hit me. It all made sense now, and I was horrified. I finally understood why he was so persistent with me, why he wouldn't leave me alone. Every time I dodged him, he must have been sucked away, forced back into the void to be torn apart by the fathomless darkness. I wondered then what it must have been like for him when he was still human, when he was still whole before being pulled to the other side. How long, I wondered, had he had to suffer like this? Looking at this man in front of me, this depressed, drugged-out shell, I started thinking of every insult my reflection had thrown my way. I started to realize that it wasn't out of arrogance. He didn't believe what he'd said about how much better than me he was. How could he? But I understood now. He was desperate. He was as desperate for an out as I was. He was just as miserable and yearning for the pain to end as I was, just like I was to the man in front of me, and he was willing to say or do anything to get out. I realized then that that's what I'd have to do as well. I'm you, I declared finally, sounding as confident as possible. He looked at me, cocking his eyebrow. Well, no, I'm actually better than you. The hell does that mean? He looked at the pill bottle in confusion before looking back to me and shaking his head. I mean that I'm a better you, and no, I'm not just a side effect of the happy pills either. I'm real and I want to help you. He scoffed. Right, you're gonna help me? Even the frickin' shrinks can't help me. What are you gonna do? I couldn't help but smile at this. Not because I was happy or even because of my excitement to get out, but just the sheer irony of it. I want to make you an offer. Trade places with me. Let me take over out there. I'll make everything better. You can probably see how this plays out now. Granted, it actually took a few tries, each failure resulting in me being pulled back to the void to be pulled apart again, but eventually the opportunity came. He just lost his job and found out his girlfriend had been sleeping around with another, far better off man than him. Worse still for him, he was out of his supply of the Prozac. In short, he was at his breaking point, which meant that all it would take was one more offer to persuade him to take my place in the mirror. All I had to do was say the right words and I was out of here. But say them I did. And free I was. Take my hand and everything will be all better. You know how I said it felt painless when I was forced from my body into the mirror? Well, it was the opposite coming out. It felt like I was being pressed and stuffed into a box that was far too small. It was suffocating at first, but it only took a couple of seconds before I adjusted. I had a body again. I was a person again. I could talk, I could scream, shout, cry, laugh. I could feel. I looked at the bathroom mirror. For a brief moment I saw him. A gaunt, white, misty face with 2 pitch-black holes where his eyes used to be. His mouth open wide, screaming. He was then pulled back from the mirror, sucked away into the void to suffer like I had. I have to admit, I felt sorry for him when I saw this. But at the same time, I had to get out. Thank you. I'll make everything better. And since then, I've done just that. Using this man's face, I've managed to restore most of what he was missing in his life. His body, which used to look like it was already almost 1 foot in the grave, despite him only being 28 years old, now looks healthy. In fact, it looks handsome even, having taken up a membership at a nearby fitness center. He now has a job as a web designer, utilizing the IT obsession I'd had in my former life. He's even talking to a new girl now. One that has his old squeeze beat every which way from Sunday. His life is actually better now, even if he can't live it. I like to think of it as the least I can do for him after what he did. I live now wearing his face, using his name, Isaac Nalder, and I'll live the best life possible, both for him and myself. Oh, and I decided to smash every mirror in the apartment. I always make it a point to avoid mirrors. I do this because I know what I'll see. There'll be another person, another poor soul like me and the others, who's just desperate to escape. And this is why anytime I have self-doubts, anytime I feel like a failure, like I need to look in the mirror, I stop and remind myself of what waits on the other side. Oh, many thanks to the author Corpse Child there for another wonderfully wild, weird and excellent story. Perfect for this Friday evening's entertainment. Well, that's another week gone by. They are passing by so quick, aren't they? Very lovely story there. So, thoughts, feelings, anything else you want to say in the comment section below the video. And as always, I will do my best to join in the chat. So, back on schedule with the podcast. If you're not familiar with my second channel, I have one that's formatted in a podcast style. So it's available on the second YouTube channel and also anywhere that you care to get your podcast just about. Dr. Creepen's Dungeon. Look out for that name, yeah? Okay, well that's enough for this week. Back again at the weekend with more Operation Apple Tree and the resumption of a couple of neglected series. So, till the next time, my dear friends, very sweet dreams and bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. Really means a lot to me and to the author of the story, of course. Well, if you want to know more about me, I'm pretty much everywhere on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can download my music on SoundCloud. I've got a Patreon if you feel like. Throw me $1 or $2. Very much appreciated. And of course, on Reddit, I have a place where you can leave stories if you want me to read one that you've written. Well, hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams, and bye-bye.